Welcome to our channel. The book of Deuteronomy is a special collection of final words. Imagine a loving father gathering his children and family close before a long journey. He wants to remind them of everything they need to know to live well. This is what Moses is doing for the people of Israel. They are standing on the edge of a new home, a promised land filled with new challenges and new choices. Moses, their faithful leader, speaks to them one last time. He shares God's loving instructions, not as a list of harsh rules, but as a roadmap to a life filled with peace and purpose. He wants them to remember who they are and who God is. These chapters 18 and 19 are like a guidebook for building a healthy community. They are not just for people who lived thousands of years ago. They are filled with timeless wisdom for all of God's children. They talk about leadership, about how to tell the truth from a lie, and about how to treat each other with fairness and kindness. God cares deeply about how we live together. He provides a blueprint for a society that reflects His own heart. These are not just ancient laws. They are lessons in love, justice, and listening for the gentle whisper of our Creator in a world full of noise and confusion. God was preparing His people for a new life, and He knew they would need good leaders. He also knew they would face temptations to follow other paths and listen to other voices. So He gave them clear instructions. He wanted them to know how to support those who served in His house, the priests and Levites. He wanted them to steer clear of harmful practices that would lead them away from Him. Most importantly, He wanted them to have a way to hear directly from Him. This is a beautiful picture of a God who doesn't want to be distant. He wants to be involved in the details of our lives. Think of these instructions as a foundation for a strong house. Without a solid base, any structure will crumble when the storms come. God was giving Israel that foundation. He was teaching them how to build a community that was fair, just, and centered on Him. He was showing them how to resolve conflicts, how to protect the innocent, and how to make sure that truth always wins. These are the building blocks of a nation that can stand strong, not because of its own power, but because it is built on the unshakable rock of God's wisdom and grace. In chapter 18, God first takes care of those who take care of His house. The priests and Levites were special servants. They did not receive a portion of land like the other tribes. Instead, God made a wonderful promise. I am their inheritance. They were to live on the offerings the people brought to God. This was a beautiful system of mutual care. The people supported the spiritual leaders, and the leaders dedicated their whole lives to serving God and teaching His ways. It reminds us that those who guide us in faith are a gift, and we are called to support them in their sacred work. Then, God gives a very serious warning. He tells His people not to copy the dark and harmful practices of the nations around them. Things like fortune-telling, witchcraft, and trying to speak with the dead were strictly forbidden. Why? Because these practices are built on fear and deception. They lead people away from the source of all truth and light. God doesn't want His children stumbling in the darkness looking for answers in shadowy places. He wants them to come to Him, their loving Father, who promises to guide them with goodness and truth. He protects us from what can harm us. But God would not leave His people without a guide. He knew they would long for direction. So He made one of the most incredible promises in the entire Old Testament. He said, I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites. He was telling Moses that a future leader would come, one who would speak God's own words. This was a promise of a true messenger, someone they could trust completely. This promise points us directly to Jesus, the ultimate prophet who came to speak the very heart of God to all of humanity. This chapter teaches us a crucial lesson about discernment. In a world with so many voices telling us what to do and who to be, we must learn to recognize the voice of our shepherd. How do we know a true prophet from a false one? God gives a simple test. If what a prophet says does not come true, then it was not from the Lord. God's word is always true. It is our anchor in the swirling currents of opinions and ideas. We are called to listen carefully, to test everything, and to hold on to what is good, true, and from the loving heart of God. Chapter 19 shifts the focus to justice in the community, and it begins with a beautiful act of mercy. God instructs the people to set up cities of refuge. These were special towns where a person who accidentally caused someone's death could flee for safety. This wasn't a get-out-of-jail-free card. It was a shield against revenge. In those days, a family member might seek to avenge a death even if it was an accident. These cities protected the innocent from a hasty and unfair punishment. It shows us a God who values every life and makes a way for mercy to exist alongside justice. This system of refuge was carefully designed to be fair. The person had to stay within the city's walls until the high priest died, ensuring a significant period of separation and reflection. This prevented blood feuds that could tear families and communities apart for generations. It was a cooling-off period, a sacred space where emotions could settle and the rule of law could prevail over the heat of passion. God was teaching his people that justice must be thoughtful and deliberate. He was building a society where safety and fairness were available to everyone, protecting the vulnerable from rash and vengeful actions. Next, the chapter addresses the importance of truth in legal matters. God establishes a firm and clear rule. One witness is not enough to convict anyone. To make sure a person was truly guilty of a crime, at least 2 or 3 witnesses were needed. This is a powerful safeguard against lies and false accusations. It protects the innocent from being wrongly condemned based on the word of a single, perhaps malicious, person. It raises the standard for justice, demanding that the truth be confirmed and established carefully before any judgment is made. What if a witness was caught lying? The law was beautifully simple and just. The liar would receive the very punishment they intended for the innocent person. This is the principle of an eye for an eye, which was not about personal revenge, but about making the punishment fit the crime perfectly. It was a powerful deterrent against giving false testimony. This standard of truthfulness was meant to create a court system that was honest and fair. God was teaching his people that truth is the bedrock of justice, and he expects his community to protect it fiercely. As we look back at these ancient words from Deuteronomy, we see more than just a list of rules for a distant time. We see the very heart of God. We see a God who is deeply concerned with fairness, who protects the innocent, and who values truth above all. He wants his people to build communities where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. He provides a place of safety for those in trouble and demands that accusations be backed up by solid evidence. This is not the picture of a distant, angry rulemaker, but of a loving father establishing a safe and thriving home for his children. The lessons from these chapters echo powerfully in our lives today. In a world that often feels unjust and confusing, the call to listen for God's true prophet reminds us to center our lives on Jesus. In a sea of endless opinions, blogs, and self-help gurus, his words are the anchor for our souls. He is the ultimate voice of truth. We are called to measure every other message against the unchanging truth of his life and his teachings. Do the voices we listen to lead us toward love, peace, and goodness? Or do they lead us toward fear and division? The principle of the cities of refuge also speaks to us. It calls us to be a people of mercy. Now ask yourself, are you a person who is merciful to others? We are called to create spaces of grace for those who have made mistakes, offering them a chance for restoration rather than condemnation. We should be slow to anger and quick to listen, seeking to understand before we judge. In our families, our churches, and our workplaces, we can be a city of refuge for others, a safe harbor where people can find grace and a path forward. We can choose compassion over immediate condemnation, reflecting the merciful heart of our God. Ultimately, the most important lesson is about the blend of justice and mercy. God does not ask us to choose one over the other. He shows us how they work together. We are to be passionate about truth and fairness, standing up against lies and injustice wherever we see them. Yet this pursuit of justice must always be tempered with a heart of compassion. We are to love truth, but we are also to love people. This is the path God laid out for his people then, and it is the same beautiful and challenging path he calls us to walk today, to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. Please subscribe, like and share.